found him.
What's up, guys? It's Keefer here. It's been a long time. I'm here with an unfamiliar face with a unfamiliar background. But I got some Walking Dead posters up here in my room, so I figured we'd film this up here. Now, we don't usually review television at all, or movies really anymore, just because the view count was really low. They seem kind of uninspired. But this is very special to the two of us. So, Sam, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and talk about what you've done on the channel? Like how you've been involved in the background a little bit?
Well, I'm Sam. And what projects have I been on?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of was part of Survivors, and...
You're one of the skinny kids in the background.
Yep. I was there for Kin for like one day.
Oh, that's right.
Which isn't actually a thing. And I've worked on like Anamnesis and a few other things for FX.
Mm-hmm. So he does a lot of the like cinematography and stuff. Okay, so before I even get started, that's nice. Here's what we're gonna do. So basically, we're gonna talk about like our general thoughts in the episode, and then we'll kind of go point by point and talk about it a little bit. So Samuel, what did you generally think of the episode? Just overall thoughts.
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. Obviously, there were its flaws, but like overall, it was a really good episode. I think like most of the episodes this season have been pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Despite some of them getting a lot of flack and negative reviews, I've enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, I think overall, generally, even people that dislike this season so far have thought that it's better than season 7 and 8 combined.
For sure.
So I've been really enjoying this season so far, and I think this is easily the best episode of the season so far. Best episode of the series in years.
Yeah. It
was excellent, regardless of Rick's departure, we'll say. This is going to contain spoilers, by the way. Probably should have said that. So yeah, pretty much everyone kind of knows. I'm going to be kind of basing this, though, off of the idea of, like, if you watched it just as an episode, so without all the AMC marketing of Rick's final episodes, just so you all know. Yeah, that was really stupid. But anyways, so we'll kind of go point by point here. So Rick sees himself in the hospital. That was really, 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 really trippy. That whole sequence was just weird. And then afterwards, he finds himself in the rebar and pulls himself off. What do you think of that scene overall?
I thought, like at the episode 4, when it first happened, I think a lot of people thought, or some people thought that he was going to die there, or that like it'd be stupid for him to get out of it.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was actually like him using his belt and then pulling himself off was like not like a Glenn under the dumpster sort of deal. Like it actually felt like a real possibility. And so I actually thought that was pretty good overall.
I've heard I heard a lot of theories that like what would happen is the whole episode would go along and then all of a sudden it would end with him still being on the rebar and getting torn apart.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that would have done to me. That would have killed me.
Yeah.
I would have been like, wow.
I'm glad it didn't go that way.
Okay, so yeah, basically next he rides along on the horse, and the first flashback we get is him walking into town again, into Atlanta, and you see like that replicated shot, which I thought was just gorgeous. And then he runs into Shane, which, did you know that was going to happen? Because I did, but did you know?
Yeah, I think I saw it in like a preview for the next episode.
Okay. What do you think of that scene?
I really enjoyed all the dialogue between those two quite a bit, and it was really interesting, I guess, seeing them talk about like the current situation, but then also going way back to the first episode and talking about when he first got shot.
Yeah, no, I thought, honest to God, I could have seen an entire episode just that alone. Yeah. And I really didn't realize how much I missed Shane until that part. And you know, one thing I was worried about personally, I know you don't watch like the Marvel Netflix shows, but one thing I was really worried about personally was just like if he was just going to come back and basically be the Punisher. But no, he stepped right back into being Shane very quickly. And I was I don't know, I just gotta trust the guy, because when he went to go play the Punisher, I thought I was just going to be Shane, but no, he made it his own. So he really knows what he's doing. Great acting all around. Seeing their interactions was great. I loved that he, not in a threatening, angry way, he was just like, "How was my baby girl?" That was a lot of fun. Yeah. And seeing him kind of just like appreciate Rick for what he's done, and mentioning biting Joe's throat out, killing Gareth in the church. That was cool. Just like Shane just looking at him. And then also, I admittedly laughed very hard when he went, "You know something, Rick?" Oh! Like, I was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, just because it just seemed very like, because when he started doing this, when he was like, I just knew that he was going to do something really, really violent.
Was that when he was, when he woke up in the cabin? Okay, yeah.
Which, also, another thing I noticed, and I'm not going to go into this much detail in every single shot, but I will say one thing I noticed was there was a heavy emphasis on a deer. As he was fading away, the deer was like kind of like being distorted.
Yeah.
He was looking at a deer. And I've noticed deers kind of like are around Rick in his worst times. When there's this really bad CGI deer in season 7, and then Michonne thinks he died. He sees a very poorly CGI deer.
I remember that now.
Yeah, horrendous.
And then when Carl gets shot.
Right, and then when Carl gets shot, that wasn't...
Well, the first time.
Oh, and then also, too, Michonne kills a deer, brings it back, and then has to give it to Negan. So it's kind of like in Rick's worst times.
Yeah.
Is when he sees this deer. So that was kind of cool. And then, so after that, he escapes again. The horse is still there, not getting spooked by the zombies, except for when it's convenient to the plot, admittedly. And then I think the next thing we see, before we see Herschel, is we see Michonne and Maggie talk, and seeing them deliver this dialogue back and forth. I loved hearing Judith call her Aunt Maggie again. That was really cute. Her going, Aunt Maggie. That was just so funny. What do you think of, like, Michonne's decision to let her in, basically?
I thought it made sense because I forget what was Maggie's argument. Like if Negan had that, and she just didn't have an argument for that, so she didn't even want to resist because she knew that Maggie was right. So.
Right, and I love that. Like she tried to the last minute. She's like, "You just got to find a way," and I was like, "There's no way you're gonna let that go." And she's like, "Oh shit," and I just gave her the keys. And then you have Negan being a complete and utter taint to her, and wow, that was brutal. I loved when he's like, "Oh, I can't remember his name now that I think about it." Like, Glenn, was it? Yeah.
Was he saying that just to get her fired up so that she would actually kill him?
Yes. And I want to know more than just your thoughts on the scene. I also want to know if you think, because I've heard this around, if you think it was him trying to get him to kill her, or the other way around. He was like, just pushing her, and then when he saw she was actually going to do it, he was crying to try to get her to not kill him. I explained that terribly, but do you get what I'm getting at?
I feel like she was probably, because he's kind of a manipulative character, that we know that at this point.
Oh, definitely.
That he was doing that on purpose, just so that she would kill him, because that's inevitably what he wanted, and he was just trying to do that for himself.
Gotcha. Yeah. I feel the same way. I really liked seeing that side of Negan, because I love when a show or a movie or anything like that can make you feel for a really shitty character. And look, Negan is like the worst kind of person. He's disgusting. Even before the apocalypse, he cheated on his wife, like multiple times. He didn't treat her right. He's made that very clear. And I think, do you think it's just him missing his wife and going insane in there, or do you think he's feeling remorseful for his actions in the show?
I think it's probably just his wife.
Okay. Yeah, probably. I mean, he's a bit of an asshole, so.
Yeah.
Okay, but moving on from there, so then Rick sees Herschel, and you hear Beth actually in the background asking what his wound is. You hear different characters throughout the entire episode ask what his wound is. So you hear that, and then you see Herschel turn around, and man, that was really sad. I didn't cry. I'm not really a crier, to be honest with you. It takes a lot to get me to cry in something that's entertainment, but I was definitely really sad watching that, especially because Herschel, the actor that played Herschel, Scott Wilson, passed. And you could see he was a lot older and degraded in that scene compared to how he was back in season 4. What do you think of that scene overall?
Well, I just remember Rick saying at one point, like, just mentioning like all the people in his family that had died,
right.
Like
even Glenn,
everybody at the farm, and then Beth and Glenn, think that's basically it.
Right.
But, I mean, that is everybody, except for Maggie, who's now alone.
Mm-hmm. Right, who's not alone. And I go ahead.
And she's not, this is her last season, supposedly.
She is, like, written to come back in the next season, though. Well, like, Rick is, like, definitive. He's definitely gone. Yeah. Maggie's at least, like, planned to come back eventually.
Yeah, so she's going to finish out the season, I thought, but then it's also possible that she'd come back. So.
Right. And so I really liked Herschel's outlook. It's almost like he had some off-screen character development of just realizing how okay everything is. Because because before in the show, I know this is going way back, but he used to really, really, really not want his daughter going in these, like, terrible situations, and he always wanted to, like, take good care of her. And I feel like now he's like, no, she's a full-grown adult. She's got a baby, and I like him talking about the grandson, too, little Herschel Jr. Mm-hmm. And then there was something else. Oh, yeah, when Rick says, I'm tired, that was the saddest thing I've ever heard. It just it broke my damn heart. Because, like, he would be tired. You know, he's been through so much in this show, and just seeing him just, like, kind of want to go.
Yeah.
Man. What happens next is basically he finds himself in the hospital once again, and he sees dead open inside, except the donut's crossed off and it says outside now, and he walks outside to join the dead, which is so damn symbolic. And he opens the door, it's like beautiful light, and you see this pile of bodies, which I was worried that the CGI would really stand out. It honestly didn't, at least for me.
Yeah, it wasn't the best.
It wasn't the best, but
it wasn't super, like, it didn't take you super out of it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. I will say, okay, now here's the thing. Here's my first iffy part of the episode is when Sasha stood up, I was like, shit. It scared me. It was so strange that she just stood up and just stared at Rick and waited for him to turn around. I instead of would have liked it better, just from an artistic standpoint, if the camera panned around Rick, like almost like a circle, and then around.
She was just there.
And she was just there.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have just been a lot less comical.
Yeah.
So okay, now here we go. So you got Shane, you got Scott Wilson, Herschel, and then you have Sasha.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? And that was the last one. That was the finale of the hallucinations.
I feel like part of it probably came down to who they could actually get to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Sasha's a really interesting choice, and that she was definitely more of just kind of a side character.
Right.
But I guess she did, like, her death was pretty significant in the, like, war against the Saviors, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it was still just an interesting choice. Like, I feel like Glenn would have been, you know, a much more impactful character. But they probably couldn't get him to come back or something. Oh,
totally. And you know, that reminds me. So the two characters that I think everyone across the board, because I've watched a lot of reviews and stuff and even thought this myself, that the two best people for that final hallucination would have been either Carl or Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn has said multiple times, now this is interesting, I don't know if you know this or not, but Glenn has said, the actor for Glenn, I forget his name.
I don't remember.
Stephen Ewan.
Yeah.
He has claimed that he will never return back to The Walking Dead for anything. And he said because, basically, if I'm remembering this correctly, the entire death of his was so haunting and damaging for him mentally that he doesn't feel like he should ever come back. Which is really sad to think about. And then Carl, the actor for Carl, Chandler Riggs, just did not end on the greatest terms. And I don't think he even really follows the show anymore, because when they did a goodbye video, there's this big goodbye video for Rick that all the actors did. And Chandler in it says, sorry that you died. He didn't fucking die. So I feel like he doesn't even really watch the show nor care about it. I don't think he's on great terms with them. So they went with Sasha. And that's just weird. I think, like, honestly, like, it would have been better to get, like, someone, like, even, like, Dale or something. You remember Dale? Like,
yeah.
He's standing there with a shocked face, like, and it's like, Rick, it's good to see you.
Enormous eyebrows.
Yeah. I think the reason why they ultimately chose Sasha was because Sasha sacrificed herself. Like, all of them had something really important to say to Rick. Mm. Shane was like, you gotta wake up and keep going. Like, you gotta, like, you know, I think that's why I was like, wake up, I'm gonna scare the shit out of you so you get going. Scott was like, stop worrying about everyone. I keep calling him Scott. Herschel was like, stop worrying about everybody. You're okay. Everyone's been taken care of. You helped that. I think Sasha was like, it's okay to die because, I sacrificed myself for the better of the group. And when people die, we learn from them. I think that's why she came back. It still felt weird because they never had an interaction before.
Yeah, no. They didn't really have too much of a relationship together.
Right. Not really.
Or even like Abraham.
I would have liked to see Abraham. Abraham would have came back too. I'm sure he would have. Yeah. Moving on from there though, he falls off the horse and he makes his way back to the camp to see the aftermath. Not gonna lie, I'm just a little frustrated that we didn't get to see any of what happened in that gunfight. Like, you just kind of have to, like, figure out who's dead, who's alive.
Yeah.
And all the people that are walking up, I'm like, I can't tell who you guys are.
Yeah.
And then when Rick was shooting them, like, all injured, I'm like, where was that aim when you had perfect health in the war? Huh?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And then the body falls on top of him. Okay, now this gets into something I've loved about this season. They've done the walkers so right. I love that they just take that extra couple seconds to show the trees moving. And you just see Rick panicking.
Yeah.
It just builds up that tension just the slightest bit. And I'm glad they're starting to do stuff like that.
The part after that, however, when they were all just walking through the tents and everything was just exploding,
was hilarious.
Was a little comical. Because I feel like they don't normally do stuff like that. Like, just walk through a tent.
Oh, yeah.
But it was funny regardless.
Oh, it was pretty funny. I was just like, you gotta get the hell out of there, dude. So he gets up, basically, skipping forward a bit, he gets this vision that everyone comes in and saves him. I don't know about you, I automatically knew it was a vision.
Which part?
When everyone started to come in.
Yeah, I think so.
It was played way too, like, because here's what I thought. I'm like, this episode has been very cinematic, very particular with how they're doing things, directorial style. Like, that didn't make sense, but I feel like you understood what I was trying to say. Hopefully you guys did too. Basically though, that entire scene felt so weird that I'm like, something doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And well, also there were a lot of walkers, and they were all done fighting them in like a couple seconds, so it was just pretty obvious.
I'm like, good try taking out all those walkers. Like, I doubt it. So then you have that crazy shot right afterwards where it's just showing Rick there laying there bloodied up, and I'm just like, man, that hurts. He starts walking away. He's got the blood dripping down his shoes, and he grabs hold of the bridge, and then the bridge holds. Did that surprise you? Did you think it was going to hold, or what did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought so. What was, and you can cut this part out just because it's like clarification, but wasn't Rick originally wanted to lead them away from the bridge?
Yep.
Because he wanted to keep the bridge, but then at some point I guess he realized that was, he just had to get rid of them?
Yeah, yes, exactly. I think it was one of those things where it's like, there was no other place to bring them in his current state, so he's like, okay, I gotta sacrifice the bridge. The walker starts creeping up on Rick. I want to know, did you think that he was gonna get bit right there? When it was like right up on him?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And then Daryl just snipes the bastard from really far away, which didn't... At first I was like, wow, that's some pretty good aim, buddy, but he's been doing this for 4 years at this point. 9 years our time, but 4 years theirs. So, basically, then you have this epic moment where everyone's trying to save Rick. They're like, he's hurt. We got to get these walkers to go back the wrong way. They're not listening to them because Rick just looks so tasty. They're all paying attention to Rick. Then, dynamite falls off the bridge. Or falls onto the bridge. I wanted to know, because I've heard some people say, why the hell is there dynamite on the bridge? I kind of think it makes sense because they were using it earlier on in the season to draw walkers away. So what did you think? Did you think that was overly convenient, or were you like okay with that?
I didn't really put any thought into it.
That's fair.
So I don't really know. I guess it didn't bother me that much then, because it didn't blatantly bother me right away.
Right, there you go. Yeah. I didn't think anything of it. And then so this is something, because I like watching reaction videos, at least some television shows and such. So I wanted to know, there's some people have watched the episode, and they've been like, shoot it, Rick, shoot it! And then they're like, afterwards, like, oh shit, it just killed him. And then there's other people that knew immediately, it's gonna kill him if he shoots that. Which way were you on?
Well, I was expecting him to shoot it, and then when they didn't, because usually when somebody dies, they're pretty explicit about it.
Yeah.
Like, even with Glenn's death, it wasn't like there was something very off about it at first.
Weird.
Like it seemed like that's what they wanted you to think, but it also didn't feel like other deaths in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And when they didn't immediately show Rick like being blown up, they just zoomed out, and it was just the whole explosion.
Yeah.
I wasn't like 100% sold that he was dead at that point, which he inevitably wasn't.
Right. The main reasons, I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting real sick of AMC and their marketing, because I don't blame The Walking Dead at all. It's not The Walking Dead and their creative team. It's not their fault. But when you have stuff like them saying Rick Grimes' final episodes, and then in the promotional pictures they show very particularly, one of the promotional pictures before the episode came out was a mailbox with the name Cardell on it. I'll explain what that means in a minute and why that's significant. And then they show pictures of Jadis with a walkie-talkie. I feel like they should not have shown any of those, because Cardell, that was a cool little Easter egg in the show, because you quickly see it really fast on the mailbox and you're like, oh, cool. But if you show it as a promotional picture, it has to be some significance.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what Cardell is. Cardell is the last name of a character in Dawn of the Dead who gets saved by a helicopter. And you know how Walking Dead is very intricate with their things.
Wait, who gets saved by a helicopter?
In the movie Dawn of the Dead by George Romero, there's a character with the last name Cardell that gets saved.
Dawn of the Dead. Is that the 2004 one?
Yeah.
It's really like
the mall.
Yeah.
It takes place in the mall, yeah.
I just watched that like last week. Who gets saved by... When did they get saved by helicopter?
It may have been the original Dawn of the Dead, because there was a remake of it.
Yeah.
I think it's the original Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I think so.
And also Night of the Living Dead, there's a character with the last name Cardell, as well as a character with the last name Grimes, as well. Which is where Rick Grimes comes from. But... anyways, moving on from there, overall, I loved how they handled it, though. Michonne's scream for Rick was heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shows him say, I found him, rapping. Here's the thing. I was really worried how they were going to conclude his storyline. Because every character in The Walking Dead, it's very predictable to know when characters are going to die, because unlike Game of Thrones, they try to tell a very concrete story with each character, and each character completes their arc before they die. So as soon as a character completes their arc, they're going to die soon.
Mm-hmm.
Except for like characters like Daryl that don't really have like an arc. He just is a caveman. But
not as, I mean, yeah, obviously, but like this season, his dialogue and writing has actually been good. Like
he's been
a real character.
And he dropped the F-bomb in the 4th episode. That was weird.
You told me about that, but I don't think I ever caught it.
And your ass wouldn't even be alive if it wasn't for Glenn. You wouldn't have found Lori. You wouldn't have found Carl. And you sure as wouldn't have found any of us.
I thought what they were going to do was kind of do like, okay, so for example, Carl was going down a very dark path all of season 7. And then all of a sudden in season 8, he's like, I'm all about being hopeful and being kind to people. And then they totally just swapped his character in order to complete his arc early.
Mm-hmm.
With Rick, I was worried they were going to do the same thing and just make his arc be about restoring civilization, and that's his legacy, which it is. But no, they wrapped his arc up exactly how it started. His arc is, I'm going to go find my family. And all the way into season 9, he's like, I found him.
Yeah.
And then he shoots it, and I'm going to be real. So this is going to be like a good bulk of this conversation, is I want to know what you think of everything in terms of him leaving the show. I just want to quickly say right off the bat before I let you go, I am okay with it, and here's why. It wasn't Glenn where they fooled you. When Glenn died and fell into the dumpster, okay, when he died, nobody was around to view that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just Glenn and Nicholas.
Well,
not even Nicholas, because Nicholas shot himself in the face.
Yeah.
So it's just Glenn. So basically the only people that were being fooled was us.
Yeah.
The characters that we follow immediately after Rick explodes think that he's dead. Therefore, we think he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's just better handled. And not to mention, too, Rick tried to die. He tried to sacrifice himself. And he failed because he doesn't get to die.
Well, I don't know necessarily that he was just like, no, I'm probably going to die anyways. Like, I think he would have been happy with himself not dying.
I'm sure he would.
And still accomplishing what he was trying to accomplish in the first place.
Absolutely. No, and I agree with that 100%. I do think, though, that ultimately he was trying to sacrifice himself, and that is why I'm okay with how they handled it.
Yeah.
I think they should have held on to that moment a little tiny bit longer. Because if you think about it, you have about a minute and a half or so of sadness. Then it cuts to...
Arby's, we have the meat.
I don't know, some shit like that. Some stupid commercial. And then after that...
No, that honestly is so true. That was, like, it was probably one of the more... like emotionally charged episodes of the entire show.
Yeah.
And then like basically the main character of the entire show that's been going on for 9 years
almost a decade.
Gets killed off, or you think so, or that's what they want you to think.
Yep.
And then instantly it cuts to commercials and completely takes you right out of it.
And it's I just wish they'd get this damn show off of cable and give it to some other, not necessarily a network, but some sort of streaming service. Because it's just, this is an entire different video that we're about to talk about here. Yeah. But like, I feel like Walking Dead would just be so much more successful had it be just released on a platform in which all the episodes are just out there compared to needing cable, I
mean, if you're like behind on the show and watching it on Netflix, that's definitely an advantage.
Absolutely.
It's so much better to watch on Netflix because you don't have commercials, because there are a lot of commercials during each episode. Mm-hmm. And then also, like, there are a lot of really bad cliffhangers, but I feel like this season they've actually been, like, pretty good, and I want to continue watching as opposed to just, like, having to watch because there was a cliffhanger. But when you watch on Netflix, you can just continue to watch the whole season. You don't have to deal with it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, that reminds me, too. I envy that very much so, that experience, because when I was younger, I literally have been watching the show since season 1. So, 9 years ago. So, I have a very unique experience with this show. I've been watching on cable forever. So, which is unfortunate. I kind of wish I would have started later because... I would have had that great experience of being able to binge at least the first, 5 or so seasons. But anyways, to get on from that, so... Is this helicopter shit, dude. What do you... I have a B. Rick's a B now, I guess. I don't know. Well, what do you think of that?
I thought that, when she's talking to them with the walkie-talkie, or the radio.
Yeah.
Walkie-talkie. What a stupid name.
I've always hated that name.
Walkie-talkie.
The talkiest of walks. Alright, anyways.
So, the scene where Jadis was talking... Is that her name?
Yeah, Jadis or Ann. Doesn't matter.
Where she was talking on the radio and trying to convince them to pick her up so that she could save Rick, I felt was a pretty good wrap up to her character, because I'm assuming she's not coming back.
Right.
Like final redeeming moments, because she's kind of been a little back and forth.
But was it redeeming though? Because she just took Rick for her own selfish desires to get the hell out of there instead of bringing him back to them.
Yeah, but I feel like he probably also would have died.
Probably.
If she hadn't. So yeah, it
could
go either way.
He was on his last breath there. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll say this too. They played the last song. I mean, the first song.
Yeah.
From the first
episode. That. Or from when he got stuck, when he was in the tank.
In the tank, that's right. The last thing I want to ask really quick. So we jump 6 goddamn years. Listen to me. That is literally the longest. That's longer than what we've seen in the show over 9 years. So that's weird. It literally means that Carl's died over 7 years ago. And Lori died over 10 years ago. It's just weird. It's very strange to think about. So I want to ask Judith Grimes. Really Judith Walsh, but whatever. Anyways, so what do you think of that? What, except for the fact that she's shooting that damn hand cannon, which is impossible.
Yeah.
but outside of that, what did you think of that scene?
Oh, I mean, the scene as itself, or by itself, I thought that the transition shot they did to all in the same episode, where it goes from what was a barn or something, and then a log, and then it decays over time, and then you get these new characters, was a really interesting way to show that time had passed. And then also seeing Judith there, Yeah, I forgot her name for a second.
That's okay. Little ass kicker.
Yeah, no, it was pretty interesting. It's also like, I read a review or something that said like, because she had Michonne's katana.
Yeah. Which
basically implies that Michonne is dead, because like, does that happen in the comics?
No, that did not happen. I don't think she's dead. I don't think she's dead because she was in the preview for the next episode. Unless it's going back in time again. I don't know why they do that, but...
You can cut that part out.
Okay, alright.
But yeah, I liked it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the new characters and also the new enemies.
Oh yeah, the Whispers, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
But okay, so, really quick, before we get out of here, I feel like it's safe to say this is one of the greatest Walking Dead episodes of all time that they've ever done. Is this your favorite episode of all time? And if not, what is?
Probably not. I really just like the first episode a lot.
Okay.
And I really like the first episode of season 5.
No Sanctuary. That's a badass episode. That's a fantastic episode. I think to this day my favorite episode bounces between No Way Out and Too Far Gone. Basically because they both act as like finales to the series in a weird way. And this episode did too, but and there's nothing wrong with this episode. It's probably like it's one of my favorites for sure. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're probably not gonna do much of these ever again. If we do, we'll do one for like maybe the finale or the mid-season finale. I don't know. Who knows? But thank you guys so much for watching. Sam will be back for future content as well as me, obviously, because I'm the only one that runs this channel. Anyways, so yeah.
Take this soul, lay me at the bottom of the river. The devil has come to carry me home. Lay me at the bottom.
So I don't know, it's weird, but maybe they didn't do. Okay, I'm just gonna cut that part right the hell out because that was terrible.
Well, also the camp was all gone and the saviors were all gone too,
right.
So they wouldn't have anybody to continue on it anyway. Or was it done? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think. Wait, what? Hold on. We'll
I don't know. I think I answered my own question.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, thanks for watching and. Yeah!